What is up, New York Rangers fans? Welcome back to Broadway Blueshirts Buzz. I am Jennifer Streeter with my awesome co-host Jake Mozarsky, and we are doing just a little New York Rangers season wrap up now that exit interviews are over and the offseason is officially underway for the New York franchise. So I guess starting right off, the biggest news we ended the season with is that goaltender Jonathan Quick has entered into retirement. Given his age, I think that definitely makes sense. It is the right move, but just want to start off this episode with a big congratulations to him on his retirement and extend a big thank you on behalf of myself and Jake and all New York Rangers fans on everything he did for the organization, and a congratulations on a very storied entire NHL career. You look at what he accomplished and what he represents for the success of US born goaltenders, and I mean his resume, three-time Stanley Cup champion, 2012 trophy winner, just everything he accomplished, and just huge congratulations to him. So, Jake, anything you want to say on the Quickie retirement news?
Yeah, I mean, you covered most of it. Best United States goaltender ever. I don't think it's much of a question. He leads them in wins. He's right up there with save percentage. And I think what is really cool about Jonathan Quick's story is he grew up in Connecticut. He grew up a Ranger fan, and he got to finish his career there. And when you look at it, he's not going to be remembered as a New York Ranger. He'll be a Los Angeles King, obviously. But when the Rangers signed him, he was dead in the water. He wasn't a popular signing. He was coming off a bad year in Vegas. He did win the Stanley Cup, but he was not good. And in his 3 years in New York, he was great. He was more than great. He was one of the best backup goalies in the league. You're talking about 2.62 goals against average, 3.17, 3.09, and it would have been a lot worse if he played average because the Rangers defense was that bad. And just being able to finish his career valiantly, over 20 wins, or not 20, over what's it called? 15 wins every season. Yeah, it just like speaks to the guy he is in a storybook ending for sure.
Yeah, I have to say, like, it would have been nice if in his last game, they were able to pull out a win for him. That was a little bit disappointing on my end that, it's like you're watching this game where one of the most legendary, arguably the most legendary US born goaltender, it's going to be the last game of his career. And, it ended in a loss. That is definitely like unfortunate and not ideal, but still doesn't erase, I mean, all he accomplished through his storied NHL career.
Yeah, absolutely. One more thing I'll add is just like go playing goalie well into your 40s is a very hard thing to do. Playing hockey well into your 40s.
Hmm.
And just the fact that he was able to play at a high level, and he was a starter for the Rangers pretty much too, with all the injuries Igor Shesterkin had over 3 years and contract disputes. Like he was worth every penny and more. He really was, and a lot of Ranger fans are going to remember him for winning the Stanley Cup over them in 2014. But I mean, this is a guy that will always be remembered for his time as a Ranger, even though it was short-lived.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I guess transitioning away from the retirement news, do you want to talk about any key takeaways you had from the exit interviews?
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the New York Rangers season, and it went very up and down roller coaster like. Um, I'm trying to describe it in a lot of words, but there were a lot of things that happened. You talk about Vincent Trocheck and JT Miller both talking about their early season injuries. Trocheck's, which I don't even want to get into because it's gross and weird. And then JT Miller obviously playing hurt. And then you miss Igor Shesterkin and you miss Adam Fox. But I think one thing that really stood out to me, and this is the optimism, is just like them talking about using the end of this year to build into next year. It's just Igor Shesterkin saying like, we have Gabe Perreault, who looks really good. We have Gabby, that's why our defense was better. And it really did look like they were trying to find the positives in this season because there's a lot of uncertainties around the New York Rangers, the timeline, the players, all of that. But it seems like they were happy with the way they ended the season. And that's a very, very vast change from last year. And Rangers fans shouldn't be happy with the way this year went, but there's some reason for encouragement, which we'll get into. I liked what most of the players said. Like, there wasn't anything I didn't like. I like last year and 2 years ago, didn't like what Jacob Trouba said sometimes or what some other guys said. They were really straightforward, took their questions well as they're professional athletes. So, um, off season of work. It'll be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I did really like Matt Rumpy's exit interview where, just because he had a really tough season. You look at the injury, the thumb injury he sustained during his, on ice fight with Ryan Reeves and how he was kind of wrestling with that. Like, it's like he was back, but then he was out because the injury just kept lingering. The thumb injury just kept lingering. So he missed a lot of playing time this season. And I really liked that he said how that is really going to motivate him and fuel him next season to just come back with a vengeance. So hopefully, he's able to get that fully taken care of this off season and is able to really like fully focus on his training and is able to kind of make that into a reality, him coming back with a vengeance. I think it would be really cool to see him have like a really full, complete year next year and see how that kind of not like fuels the Rangers just because it's an enforcer doesn't necessarily like fuel the team, but I think it would be really cool to see how having him around for like the full year and seeing him to his full capabilities can make an impact next season.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you there. And like, I do think his presence when he's playing great hockey, it absolutely helps the New York Rangers because 6'7", able to make the plays he made in 2025, he made significant strides into becoming a better NHLer. And at the end of the day, like, he's just another body. You talk about all the Rangers youth and guys that Mike Sullivan sort of threw at the wall and hope stuck. He spoke about in his exit interviews, like strides being made and experience these guys get, like Adam Sikora, the Dylan Garins, the Yaroslav Shamilars, and Noah Laba entire season. And Matt Rempe's just another one of those young guys who, in the right system, can turn into a legitimate NHLer. And unlike some of those guys, he's already shown that he could be that. So I definitely agree with you there. And I like Mike Sullivan pretty much said in exit interviews like he summed up the season and like the way it was when Rempe was playing. The first 20 games, the Rangers were actually playing well. They just weren't getting results. They were out shooting teams. They were out expected goals them. And I'm not a huge advanced metrics guy, but they were playing good hockey. They just weren't winning. And then it fell apart when everyone got hurt. And then when they got back and it was too late, you see the strides and you see the hope. And I think just like he's one example of a guy that the season didn't turn out the way what anybody wanted individually, besides maybe Mika Zibanejad, and I think you bring up a really good point there.
Speaking of hope,
Yeah.
Gabe Perreault. I think Gabe Perreault very much represents the hope and the future of the Rangers organization. You look at how big of a deal it was when he scored his first hat trick, got his first career hat trick, and how cool of a moment that was for the Rangers. A special shout out to Captain JT Miller, who like stacked the hats like on, I don't know if you saw that, but it was like JT Miller like stacked a bunch of hats like on Gabe's head while they were like on the bench, and it made like for a super funny meme that was going around socials. I'll insert a pic here. But
Okay, hello. This is Jenny from the future here. I just spent the last 15 minutes searching X for the screenshot from the Jumbotron of JT Miller stacking hats on Gabe Perreault's head following his first hat trick, and I cannot find it. But I am attaching proof that JT Miller is, in fact, the person who grabbed the puck for Gabe to commemorate the hat trick. So here that is, and just use your imagination. Believe me, the picture was there and it happened. I just can't find it.
Yeah, just really impressive stuff from Gabe this season. Was really impressed with him, especially at his age. I mean, glad that he's finally shown that he is where he belongs in terms of being and playing at the NHL level. But super exciting stuff from him. Was really glad to see that kind of towards the end of the season he got that hat trick and was able to kind of prove that next year, the sky's the limit, and he's very much representing the future of the organization.
Absolutely. I mean, the first ever podcast we ever recorded was about them calling up Gabe Perreault, and there was obviously some more stuff. But our conversation, I watched it the other day in one of my reels. And I'm just like, we spoke about Gabe Perreault's talent and how the Rangers were really struggling when we recorded it. They got shut out the past two games, and the thing we concluded on was like, the New York Rangers are a better offensive team with Gabe Perreault. You can't make an argument against his talent. And he's just a really raw player because he's young. And you mentioned it. We saw it in the back half of the season when he got top 6 minutes, when he got those opportunities with the Alexi Lafreniere, the Mika Zibanejad. You saw his talent pop off. And this guy, I mean, Jesus, he's 20 years old. It's crazy. Like the sky is the limit, and that's what makes it really exciting. And you have stats to back it up. And just going back to our first podcast when we said it might take a little bit, but if it works out, he's going to be a guy that's really scary. This was a guy that tore up the college system, broke records at Boston College, which is a very hard thing to do. And now comes the legitimate expectation. That's one more exit interview I love, by the way, because they're just like, "What are your summer plans? What do you got for vacation, all that?" And he goes, "I think I'm just gonna be in the rink. It's a big summer for me." And so that's awesome. Just last thing on him, like this is a guy that will really turn into a leader for this team. And a very make or break point. He's right there with Alexi Lafreniere because you have all the old guys, and he is the bridge. Him and Alexi Lafreniere are the bridge for now, and whoever they select early in the draft. And so it's just really encouraging to see those guys make those strides because one more thing in the back end of the season, Lafreniere was great. And that was something that if you talked to us in February, the last time we recorded after Panarin, we would have been like, his production is going to take a major drop off now that Panarin's right there. And so just another positive for sure. I didn't mean to drag that out that far.
No, that's good. I guess we can also get into a little bit of NHL draft, NHL lottery information. The 2026 NHL draft lottery has been revealed to be officially on May 5th at the NHL Network's New Jersey studio, and it's going to be broadcast live on ESPN and Sportsnet. So I guess that's super exciting stuff. Anything you want to give to any info on Rangers related content related to the draft?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for Rangers fans to follow is they have top four odds. The big fish is Gavin McKenna from Penn State, who was absolutely ridiculous this year. The Rangers go into the lottery with the third best odds for the number one pick with an 11.5% chance, which means that there's 1,000 potential combinations for the draft lottery, and they in 115 of them, the Rangers are first. And there's two other teams built in the West before them, but it's not only Gavin
Yeah, jumping
McKenna.
in there, so the Vancouver Canucks lead the odds with 18.5%, followed by the Chicago Blackhawks with 12.5%. And then we have the Rangers, which is what you're talking about.
Exactly. And McKenna's obviously the big fish here. This guy at Penn State, forward center, just great. I could throw out stats, but he really was great. But you have other guys like Frölunda's Ivor Stenberg. You have Albert Smits, who played for Latvia as an 18-year-old. It's a good draft class. And then just like I don't want to make it a bigger conversation than it is until you know what pick the Rangers have because there is a possibility that they don't have a top three pick, but with their timeline, maybe they do look to trade for an NHLer, not by next Thursday when the lottery happens, but it's just going to be interesting and another add to the war chest because they have a lot of money. They have some picks from the Panarin trade and some prospects. So it's a cool position. And Rangers have had some luck in the lottery the past few years. And Alexi Lafreniere and before that, Kako obviously didn't work out, but it's just an exciting thing to look forward to, Rangers fans. So we'll see how it all unfolds.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it makes complete sense for us to end the episode there. We will definitely record another one following the NHL draft, get the scoop on, the prospects, the new guys for you guys. But as always, thanks for listening and be sure to tune in next time and let's go Rangers.
See you guys.